Доброго времени суток. Сегодня мы посмотрим игру Stanley Parable. Игра, понятное дело, что не новая, но она меня, в принципе, давно уже интересовала. Мы уже играем, якобы написано. Посмотрим, как оно будет. Потому что, если что, будем искать игру, которая меня действительно зацепит. Все-таки с Mass Effect 2 какая-то, конечно, ерунда произошла. Потому что первый я проходил и раньше с удовольствием, и для трансляции на канале есть видео. Проходил с не меньшим удовольствием, но сейчас вот не то. Не то, второй гораздо хуже. Возможно, хороший вариант все-таки проходить более казуальные игры, которые меня всегда больше прикалывали, или JRPG. По сути дела, каждый из них может затянуть нас от 30-40 часов до сотни. Ну, как по мне, ничего страшного в этом нет. Хорошая, приятная история от людей, которые знают, что они делают, все-таки будет, наверное, лучше. Конечно, многие предложат какой-нибудь GTA взять в рассмотрение, но пока еще никто не смог меня убедить, что я там действительно найду что-то увлекательное для себя.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee.
И тут я понял, что я забыл включить субтитры.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk.
Так, давайте посмотрим в настройках. Может, видео нет. Обычно 4:3. Почему 4:3? Вот, тоже другое дело. Скважин. Так. Окей. Так, ну вроде должно быть все нормально. Видео, экстрас. Тут все включено. Так. Ага. Ничего лишнего, кроме того, что вот у меня оно немножко не так идет. Сейчас поправим. Извините. И получается, весь чат съехал на тот экран, где идет сама игра. Что, разумеется, не очень удобно. Итак, я не на месте. О, какой интересный компьютер. Можно как-то взаимодействовать? Походу нет. Ну ладно, выйдем из офиса.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Стоп. Я подумал, что звук, может, у нас речь есть. Вот почему в звуке? Полная. Высокодная динамика, общая громкость. Русского, конечно, все равно нету, да?
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Не понял. Клавиатура, мышь.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
О, отлично. У нас есть субтитры. Что, достаточно приятное освещение. Ощущение, что мы какие-то кругами бегаем. Может, что-нибудь поюзать интересно можем? Нет. Так, двери для нас все закрыты. Кружечки, номера. Дайте мне куда-нибудь пощелкать. Стремянка. Тут что за фигня? Типа цветок, да, какой-то? I hate Monday. Я ненавижу понедельники. Отсылка к Boomtown Reds. Приятно.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ну что, думаю, для первого знакомления все-таки будем слушать, что нам говорят. Может, это к чему-то хорошему приведет. Может, нет, я не помню. Я не стал себе сильно спойлерить. Лучше, как и большинству, все-таки пройти.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Блин, в доске куча текста, который можно было, конечно, почитать. Но с моим познанием английского это, наверное, будет не настолько содержательно, как ожидалось в игре. Каждый уникальный. Broom closed. Брум метла. Типа кладовка для метел. Это прям какой-то Гарри Поттер прям.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ну окей. Это сюда.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being
И
held from
правда,
him?
кто это
What he
такой?
could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret
2845.
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Ну так мы и не знаем об этом.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs, trying to input anything on the... Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Вот он. Ой, мы куда-то поехали. Интересно. Загрузка. Загрузка. И никакой полезной информации. Ну ладно. На что весело. Спускаясь в глубину здания, стоит заметить, чувствовать себя как-то особенно.
When for years it had never occurred to him. This question would not go unanswered for long.
Что это за лампочка? Ай-яй-яй.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
А то у нас прям сомнения есть.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
куда ж я денусь? Конечно, мы пойдем дальше. Так, ну очевидную концовку мы, наверное, сейчас все-таки уже получим. А куда дальше-то? Так, ну давайте тыкать.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ну, это логично. Все-таки большая контора. Люди так, пешки во всем этом.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's
тоже нам
control?
говорит все это.
Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ну-ка, и что будет, если мы нажмем пятерочку? Ничего. О, у нас тут есть выборы.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to
И что же
everything
она
it stood for.
символизировала? Давайте отрубим. Все? Ау.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
А что получилось? Непонятно.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command.
Но что же
Freedom
не
was
так?
mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ну, позитивная концовочка есть. Если такое можно считать. Так, посмотрим, а что теперь? А, ну по-прежнему опять появились там же.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Ну
window.
что, попробуем. Первый же вариант — это не слушать первую дверь. Идти или не идти? Стоп, мы сюда ходили. Или я уж кругами хожу? А, правильно, я кругами пошел. Ну да.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Не. Попробуем теперь полностью не слушать.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Это будет не так просто, но попробуем полностью не слушать. Блин.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm
Не,
not asking
чувак,
for me,
я для того сюда и пришел.
asking for her. This is it,
Для кого?
Stanley.
Для нее?
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her,
Ох ты ж.
Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Не-не-не. Иди нафиг. Мы этого делать не будем.
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was
Почему
possible.
нет?
Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand.
Нормальный вариант.
How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though
А
you
вот для этого мы сюда и
completely
пришли.
ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
О,
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person, but if used incorrectly can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Ну, будем практиковаться. Давайте.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction.
Ну, так есть
But not to
немножко.
worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Куда? Вот ты зараза. Не должен выходить дверь. Блин, и трубку мы взять не можем. Ну ладно. И куда он хочет меня привести?
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
О чем, прыгать не умеем, да? Есть косячок. Блин, он возвращает нас назад. Мне это не вполне устраивает. Тут есть коробки, но они нам никак не помогут. Там машина внизу.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
Так. Он опять свой тому, чтобы зашел в левую дверь. Но у нас же должны быть еще какие-то двери.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Иди нафиг.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Декорации поменялись, тоже хорошо. Да, только здесь ничего сделать нельзя. Блин, придется идти назад. Так. Нет, ну игра явно пытается нас заставить пойти и не дать нам выбора. Причем тут совместились картинки, тут какой-то хлам, и похоже на рабочее место нашего ГГ. Ладно, пока игра нас победила. Надолго ли?
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe after everything we talked about that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever. Reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know.
Почему? Не надо.
What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Давай пойдем в левую дверь. Да?
I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Вот зараза, отрубил нас. И что, мы сейчас опять в начале появимся, да? Будет ли все работать как надо? Вот вопрос.
I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious.
Да,
It would have been so
спасибо.
perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Я знаю, к какой концовке я все это дело свожу. Мне самому это не очень нравится. Я, скорее всего, специально ее завалил, чтобы не тратить наше время. Но, тем не менее, мы ее частично получим.
Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ну что, опять туда.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the
Так, я понимаю, игра все-таки ушла в какой-то самоповтор.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Так, ладно, третья попытка. Если он покажет то же самое, то значит у нас действительно уже все выборы кончились. Так, я уже вышел. Все равно не срабатывает.
I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Так, у нас вариантов не так много, поэтому...
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Блин, там же явно внизу что-то есть. Кажется, тут еще какие-то были... А, ну да. Ну, конечно, все закрыто. Ладно, потыкаемся, посмотрим. А мы вот сюда не ходили. Ну и не сходим. Почему тут все заперто? А тут что-то лежит. Почитать не дадут, да? Слушайте, по-моему, кабинет...
Inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Так, как здесь этого не сделать, да? А если мы просто потянем время?
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
Не-не-не-не. Мы, наверное, полезли в
I'm
компьютер,
sorry,
нет?
is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you?
Не,
Please
совсем.
speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Да, мужик, я слишком хорошо это знаю. Я там буду наблюдать.
Okay, fine,
Картина.
you're not gonna do it. But you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward.
Там как раскипятился-то. Ух ты. Ух ты. Как интересно.
Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you.
Клево, пошли титры.
Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please.
Блин, такое тоже можно было сделать, да?
Do something.
Так, отсюда мы выбрать сообщение можем, да?
Important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? You listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait.
Я настолько сломал игру, что все.
Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Пошла очередная загрузка. Ну да. Так, а если мы изначально не пойдем?
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure.
О,
What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever.
фу,
I will
правильно.
be happy.
Мы будем счастливы.
Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually,
Подождем,
someday, they
конечно.
would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Клево. По-моему, самая короткая концовка. Как Нир Автомата, да? Вот прилететь, плюнуть на все и уйти назад. Так, ладно. Вариант, но не вариант. Интересно, что-то меняется. Ух ты, тут какой-то комп запущен. Надо выключить. И тут. Интересно, если бы раньше бы это замечал. Так, интересно. Блин, опять эти две дурацкие двери. Интересно, что у нас там? Ага, так просто мы не войдем.
Stanley came to a set of two open doors. He entered the door on his left.
Ладно, пойдем опять налево, но... Ну что, но?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Так, дверь назад нам не открылась. Ух ты.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Не, ну не
There
может
was
быть, что
nothing
это не
here.
было.
No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Не, чем идти
It was
нащупаем.
baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At
Ну
least if there
да.
was something to interact with, he'd be
А мы для этого
justified
сюда
in
и
some
пришли.
way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Может, мы лампочку сопрем? Нет. Блин, даже лампочку нельзя спереть.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why?
Потому что я
Please
могу.
offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for
Да,
exploring it to
однозначно.
find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever.
Да, но раньше тут было закрыто, а теперь не закрыто.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this consoling.
Может быть. Хотелось бы надеяться.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is.
Чуванчик.
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Ух ты.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
Ну, как я сообщу, да? Нет, чувак, не получается.
The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them.
Не, это все слишком сложно.
Done that, just step out into the hallway.
Ну, расскажи еще чего-нибудь. Нет, нет. Окей.
Second player, it's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Да, именно вверх. Так, ну тут точно ничего, но проверить надо было.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy.
Однозначно,
And then something
однозначно.
occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him?
Да, но действительно нет.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid.
Интересно, они действительно повторяются или нет?
And began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, a and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams. The truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a
По-моему,
dream.
это
But
как
the voice that seemed
повторение
through
идет.
to make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons.
Так, кнопочки, кнопочки.
It's all I want.
Дайте мне
I want my
кнопочки.
apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Однозначно.
I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ну да.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke
Sure.
up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal.
Я тоже нормальный.
I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Но мы этого не увидим. Я так и понял. Ну что ж, первое знакомство с этой игрой прошло довольно неплохо. Спасибо всем, кто смотрел это видео. И до скорых встреч. Пока.